Hey everybody, welcome back to day 3 of Breakfast with Bob. My name is Bob Babbitt we are brought to you by HOKA, Master Spas, deboer, wetsuits, Quintana Roo, and of course our Challenged Athletes Foundation. We're about to send out our 50,000th CAF grant, and we'll be distributing over $5 million in grants to challenged athletes around the world. And one of the athletes who has supported us over the years is a guy who is an Olympic rower, a professional cyclist, professional triathlete, one of the most unique athletes on the planet. Mr. Cam Wurf joins us. How you doing, Cam?
Hey, Bob. Great to be back. It's actually, this was the first Ironman experience I ever had 10 years ago.
Really?
As an age grouper.
So you came here as an age grouper.
Yeah. I was living in LA, and I was on my, as I said, on that period where I was on my Cannondale contract and, moving into the finance world. And this was one of their activation events.
Yes.
Along with Sequoia clothing brand. They
right.
were, in the sponsoring of Ironman.
Oh, Sequoia was sponsoring Ironman.
Yeah,
They were. Right. Yeah,
so
yeah,
they
yeah.
said, Cam, just come along and do it. I'm sure you can swim. And I was like, yeah, I've never
I
done
can,
one.
I can ride a bike a little bit. What the hell?
Figure it out. So came along, and I guess that's where it all started, the bug, the itch.
Yeah, and so when you did this bike course, this is a great cyclist course.
Yeah.
Right, with the climbs and the headwind on the way back.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard. I remember that day, and Lionel, I noticed, still has the bike course record. I think he was around, he actually rode quicker than me, a couple of seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
We're very close. And so I know how to ride that fast. Yeah,
you do.
I remember, but it was fascinating to see that bike record. Of all the bike records,
It's still there.
It's still there from that year. Lionel's won it obviously multiple times since.
3, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and Heather Jackson, I just remember on the run being in front of the women and just not wanting to get beaten by Heather.
And did she get you?
No,
you held her off.
I held her off. I didn't get chick. So I was wrapped. Yeah.
And was that the same year that you qualified for Kona?
It was. So that was, an interesting dynamic to the story. I met Sonny Garcia here.
Yes.
He was also with, Cannondale Association, Segoy, and
he was going to do
he
Kona.
He was doing Kona. So this was a part of his, preparing for that and, doing his training and getting used to the races. And we become very good friends. And then, of course, with him going to Kona, and he'd say, "Come on, you
can do Kona.
You qualify. Go and do an Ironman." And I was no. And then the opportunity arose in Whistler during the year, and of course, once I was at the race, I was like, "Right, I got to qualify for Kona. I really want to go with Sonny on this trip."
And you did.
So we did. We went together. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Well, and the funny part is, and before that race, didn't you break your foot mountain
I
biking?
did. I mean, that was the reason I really went was for Sonny.
Right.
It was just like we were really good. We are really good mates. We're best mates, and I just wanted to be there with him, and a bucket list event. I want to do it once in my life, and obviously never imagined what that would spark.
I mean, look what it sparked.
Yeah, here we are 10 years. I haven't been back since, but this will be the...
So this is the first time you've been
as a pro? As a pro, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about this, like we said, you now, because of the way you swim and the way you run, and obviously the way the cycling is still there, that cycling course record could come down.
Well, I was, as I said, I was quite shocked to see it there, and it potentially could. I mean, it could significantly fall, to be honest, with the strength of the field we have now. It's one of those things. It's where the dynamic of the race is. Is there pressure on the bike course to do it? So you need someone who's not a strong runner to want to apply pressure to try to drag the runners out to deaden their run a little bit. And obviously the last years, even Lionel, he backs his run. So, of course, he's not going to make it any harder than he wants to, because he wants to win the race and he backs himself on the run to do it. So I guess that's the challenge for someone like me, to try to be prominent in the race early on, to put some pressure on to try and get them out of what they want to do, their comfort zone. And I think that'll push the speed up a bit.
And when you are in a race and you can you tell fairly early who wants to take a flyer and go with you and potentially hurt their legs for the bike for the run, but they know they need a lead.
Yeah, I kind of like to think that anyone that tries to go with me, if I'm going for it, is probably going to hurt themselves because I'm hurting myself. I mean, Sebi's always been the OG of that comment, isn't he? If it's hurting me, it's killing them. So, I love it if I see anyone trying to respond. Okay, often they show me they can still run really well and they smash me, but I know at least there's a chance. At least there's a chance.
They're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance.
Jim Carrey.
All I need is a chance.
Yeah. That is so cool. When I look at, you had, what, you just do Geelong?
Yeah, I mean,
not
that
a
was...
good day.
Yeah.
Sort of opening
Well, it
up.
was... I mean, obviously there's been a bit of talk about me in the schedule I released. The funny thing about that was, it was a joke, but I actually asked Kyle Glass, I said, Kyle, can you do it with every single race on the Ironman calendar, not just the Pro Series?
Right.
And he gave me this surprise. Oh, that's a bit soft. Anyway, we put it up anyway, but I thought it would have been better if I'd put every race. And to be fair, I actually got a little bit of a rap across the knuckles from Ironman about it because... And I take responsibility for this. I mean, I genuinely enter a lot of races because in the past, with my commitments with the team,
you just enter them to see when you're available.
Because I just don't know when I can actually go.
Right.
I don't do it to be a smart ass, like guess if I'm coming. I do it because I don't know if I can come.
Right.
And of course, I was just in that routine for this year, so I sort of thought, I'll just enter in everything. And I'm still with the team at the moment. They're giving me the autonomy to focus on this.
That is so cool,
which is great. I'm not required to race at the moment. We might look at it in the summer, but yeah, Ironman sort of said, well, the problem is when you enter, there's interest from the town that you might be coming. We're printing numbers. We're doing,
which is very cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of people spending time, and then I don't show up, and I don't like wasting people's time. So I'm going to make more of an effort this year to, be a bit more open about my program and when I actually intend to be there and get Ironman a bit back on side because they got a bit upset about that.
It's funny because over the years, I'll check with Paula Newey-Fraser to see who's racing what, and she'll say, well, Cam's on the list.
Yeah.
But we don't know because of his schedule. So, I mean, I've always, when I saw Cam's doing every race, I'm like, no, Cam signed up for every race because he doesn't know what he can do yet. I totally get that.
Yeah.
So
anyway, I was in Geelong. That sort of happened. I was actually in Australia for some wind tunnel testing.
Right.
With John Pittman, who they developed a new tunnel for the Olympic team to shoot, which they obviously won gold. And he then contacted me. John had actually worked with Team Sky a long time ago.
Oh,
Watching me in Kona, he felt like I hadn't really improved my position really since we sort of started on that back in 2018.
Wow.
So said, listen, come down. I'm really confident we can find some stuff and help you with that. And it's a great excuse to go to Australia.
Yes.
And just the windows of time he gave me happened to coincide with that week with Geelong.
Sure.
So I thought, great, I'll just go do the tunnel and I'll tack Geelong on at the end of the week just to start the year. I was really excited about this race and a good opener, if nothing else. And lo and behold, just before we left Europe, Fallon ordered a dodgy vegan pizza and wiped out the family. We all got food poisoning.
No.
We got on the plane feeling a bit drained. We actually flew through LA because we dropped off Olive because we were staying here through Texas.
Yeah.
We don't take her to Australia. So it's basically the same distance anyway, whichever way you go. So I had a few days here. Of course, I get excited. I trained hard. I'm not sick. I'm fine. Got to Australia.
Sick.
Not feeling too good. And then I'm in the wind tunnel for 4 days, on the bike, off the bike, on the bike. There's wind. So I called Tammy and I said, listen, Tammy, I can't come to Geelong. She said, oh, Cam, come on. Everyone's expecting. I said, okay, I'll be there. But
Don't expect anything.
Don't expect much of me, Anyway, as fate would have it, I rock up and we pinched a wire or something on my bike and my Di2's fried. So
besides being sick, you got no power.
I've got one gear. We took it to the shop, but of course they looked at the bike and said it's 3D printed and we have no idea where to even find anything. And it's the day before the race. So I said, okay, great. I'll do my commitments for Ironman. I'll at least get a chance to test my swim.
Yes.
That I've worked really hard on over the winter. I'll get through the bike with one gear the best I can.
Wait. You did the bike ride with one gear?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my peak cadence was 150 RPM. But I announced it before the race, more out of respect to my riders, to say, look, guys, I'm not part of the race today. You told them. I'm going to do a training session because I'm here and I've actually not trained all week. So I'm going to do something. It's a great opportunity to just, do a run and do a swim, really. And I just have to get through the bike in the middle. But in the end, I was only, 25 seconds behind Matt Hauser out of the water. I rode to the front with one gear. But, I mean, just that cadence just really fried your legs. And I realized also, I felt like, well, maybe I'm in better shape than I expected. And that was sort of when I was comfortable to, okay, Oceanside's in 2 weeks. Let's just cool the jets, enjoy the day, do a nice little jog, go through Training the motions. Exactly. Get on the plane and get back here. And here we are. So that was why I was in Geelong. That really wasn't a planned event, and I didn't really want to be there, but I didn't want to let Ironman down when they'd sort of, with this whole kerfuffle of my race schedule.
So Kona, you've finished 5th before, and this year you got 7th.
Yeah.
Right. You're perpetually in the top 10 now.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Right. You're right there.
Yeah.
Does that course suit you better than Nice?
Yeah. Well, I've got better results there than the one time we went to Nice.
Yeah, but we only went once.
Then that was a bit of a... I mean, that was a day that it could have gone either way, and I guess the lack of preparation caught me out when I had that stupid crash on the bike when I just about caught Magnus.
Right.
I mean, if I'd caught Magnus, which I was about to do, and Rudy, that could have been a very different day. Like I felt like
you guys totally would have got away.
Yeah, well, we were on the descent, and we, at least I would have had a chance to be in the race. But obviously, falling pretty hard on my back, I felt that in the run. It really fell apart. And I don't know how well I could have gone on that course. And I almost had a good swim that day. I was with that front group for a long time, or that main group, until we basically came back in the last time and just lost a lot of time. So, the thing is now in Kona, and I'm not going to sit here and say I could have got such and such a position had I have swam better. But obviously, had I have swam better in Kona this past year, it would have given me the potential to have more options as far as my finish position. Potentially, I would have gone worse because I might have, tried to chase Sam or do whatever and blown up like a lot of guys did. But at least I would have had a chance to. Whereas in the end, my swim put me so far out of it that sort of the best result I could kind of salvage was the one that I got.
Right.
And
still top 7th is fine.
I mean, but I think it was a good 7th. I mean, my only regret is when I got out to the energy lab and I'd been running everyone down, I kind of thought, great, I've salvaged something. The day was a disaster. And
250 marathon, that's good.
Yeah, but I was going a lot quicker at that point, and I tried to be clever in there, and I came out, and then it was so hard. I was in 8th. It was so hard to get to 7th. I mean, I should have just kept going. I had the momentum. I should have just kept going. I had nothing to lose.
Right.
And but, you learn from
that. But that's what, I remember one year you did.
And I've never been in that position before where I'm running people down. So I also don't know what I'm capable of.
Right. And but I remember one year you did 8 Ironman races.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and you were like, listen, I need to learn this. You learn from every race.
Yeah.
And what my favorite was, I'm racing Challenge Roth.
Yeah.
And hey, here's Jesse Thomas goes by, Sebastian Kienle goes by, and I'm thinking to myself, they look like shit.
Yeah, yeah.
They look awful. And they ended up getting, they ended up podium or winning in podium.
Yeah.
And so you learn from that you can't look at people and think that they're done or not done.
Yeah.
You can look like crap and be running well.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not, at the end of the day, you're not running that fast.
No.
It in the scheme of, the highest level of running.
Right.
So it's a real slug. So, as far as which course suits me the best, I mean, I think both of them suit me really well.
Yeah.
I just really need to get on top of that swim if I want to give myself a chance of really
in
having
both
a chance.
races.
In both races.
Both races.
I mean, it is identical really in both races. I think they're both hard.
Yes.
For different reasons. Obviously Nice is hard because of the bike course.
Right.
And obviously Kona's hard because of the heat.
Right.
And it's obvious that I sort of handle just a hard race well.
Yes, you
a
do.
race that puts fatigue in the body of the entire field, tends to bring me more towards the top. So,
which brings us back to this race.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one.
This one is something that beats people up because the road pavement on the way out on the bike, the 3 climbs, then the 10 miles into the headwind.
It was interesting. Gustav asked me yesterday. I arrived. I went to a coffee shop to meet a buddy, and the Norwegian,
boys were there.
The hype train. Well, they rolled past, so I called Christian straight away. He came back and we sat down. And Gustav said, "Why do you think the run's so fast here?" I said, "Well,
concrete."
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I said. I said I think it's the concrete because I don't know because it's not an easy course. It's not like it's flat or downhill or tail breeze, but it's concrete. And which I think is great if your legs are good.
Right.
But I think if you rock onto the concrete tired, it can really punish you.
Up. Yeah. And before the plated shoes, the recovery from this race was really tough.
I can imagine.
Right? It really beat people's legs to shreds.
Yeah.
So, But
yeah, so that is the reason. That's good. So I kind of know what I'm talking about when it
You
comes to running.
Absolutely.
And Gustav needed to ask me, which is even more amazing.
What I love is interviewing Casper this morning. So
Yeah.
it's Gustav, Christian, and Casper.
Yeah.
They're coaching each other.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Fallon, my father-in-law, is staying with us at the moment. We've been up in Big Bear, and he said to me the other day, he said, are you friends with a lot of the athletes? I said, yeah, I'm kind of friends with everyone.
Yeah.
And I said, what I really like is often whenever they need something, not like as in they want, but something goes wrong or they're in trouble or something, they'll often call me.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I kid you not, 2 minutes later, I get FaceTime from Big Blue, Christian, calling me because Casper's had a malfunction with his cables, the same as I had in Geelong, and needed a mechanic here to fix his bike, to help him out. So
that's so
I
funny.
said, yeah, man, I got you covered. I just got mine fixed. So, let's get that sorted.
We interviewed the two of them, Gustav and Christian, last
Yeah.
night for Moment Bike Shops, and
Yeah.
they're just hilarious.
Yeah.
Gustav made sure we all knew that of the three of them, he's the only one who graduated high school. So
Wow.
he's the bright one.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
So what are your goals for this one?
Yeah, I
obviously
had a great swim in Australia, so that was good to see. I
Yes.
mean, ideally, I've held on to that. If not, got a bit better, a bit more sharp. It was weird for me because I actually felt normally I'm very good off the line, and then I blow up because of lack of efficiency.
Yeah.
And in Geelong, I was felt like a fish out of water at the start, trying to go fast, but also trying to maintain my form that I've worked hard on.
Right.
It's a bit like having a lot of golf lessons. You go out in the competition, you hit a bad shot. It's like you got to stay with it.
But yes.
And all of a sudden, so it was fast, and I was under pressure a bit, and then I started to swim through the field, which I just never. It was a bit like Kona running. I mean, I've never done that before, so. Obviously, I'd really love here. You won't have a Matt Hauser or a guy like that. So ideally, maybe I can stay even closer to the front.
Exactly.
And be part of the front of the race. And everyone knows my plan. I mean, if I'm there, I'm just going to try and put pressure on the race as quickly as I can. Every race is the same. I either, at the front or I get to the front and then apply the pressure. And these races are over before you know it now. I mean, the guys are sprinting.
So fast.
It's awesome. So, and it's just a fantastic course with Penn. I mean, I've spent lots of time here in the past with Cal Crutchlow training in the winters, doing the Wednesday Worlds. So I haven't ridden on the course I probably did that 6 years ago, that group ride, but I've done it a lot of times. I know it. I know how hard and dead that road is, and I know how brutal those climbs can be out the back if you're a bit tired.
Exactly.
So, and I know the crowd's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing.
And it's going to be a beautiful day like this.
Love it.
Yeah, I think we're in for a real special one.
Cam, thank you, buddy. Always such a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah.
And glad. How long will you be in town?
Well, we're actually off to Big Bear. So I've been there a week, and we'll be there until Texas.
Oh, yeah, and
the next race I'm doing, I'm really doing.
You're really doing.
Really
Texas.
planning to do.
And then St. George or no?
No, then we'll go back to Europe.
Back to Europe.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'd actually after Texas, I'd probably like to do Lanzarote.
Oh yes.
A couple of years ago.
That's a perfect course.
And I love that course. Sam Laidlaw and I kind of killed each other's days. You know? I was trying to show him who was strongest on the bike after what had happened in Kona. He was trying to show me, and I ended up passing him on the bike, but then he obviously had to prove that he was fresh, so he tried to run me down and then pulled out, and I'd blown up because I'd ridden so hard. So we both ruined our own races. I ended up third, but I'd love to go back there and have a race, and that's a few weeks after Texas. So
perfect.
sort of my plan at the moment is a really big build and focus towards Texas.
Yes.
And obviously, here I've prepared the best I can. And then just sort of have a rest and, hopefully tack Lanzarote onto that. And then ideally I've qualified for Nice and we can start the plan.
Love it.
For that.
Thank you, buddy, for taking time.
Pleasure. Anytime. I love it.
Cam Wurf has been our guest, and that is a wrap for Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Oceanside. Hope everybody who's watching, who's racing, has a great race, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.
Cheers.